Okay, so we've started the webinar. I can see people joining already. Thanks very much. So we'll just give another few seconds because I can see the numbers shooting up now, and then I'll explain why my camera's not on. Hopefully, Dan and Kim, if you say hello, then people can see you.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
I can hear you loud and clear. That's good. And Dan, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you absolutely fine, Robin. Yeah, all good.
Great. So welcome to the second Alpha Tracker Tips and Tricks webinar. It's a bit confusing and complicated today, only with time zones. I'm actually in a different time zone to Dan and Kim, and I thought the time zone was going to confuse me, but in fact, we've been caught out by the BST change that happened at the weekend, and I think for all of you that have managed to join, and there's lots of you that have, well done. You've joined at 12:30. I think Zoom has been telling people to join at 1:30. So I think there's going to be a lot of people who are joining late or that will be watching it on the recording on YouTube. That's fine. Last time when we recorded it and put it on YouTube, we had over 100 people watch it after the event. So this webinar is being recorded. It'll be on YouTube afterwards. And feel free to share it with colleagues afterwards, or just watch it yourself just to follow along about what we were talking about. The topic this time is the Wallboard and the map scheduler. Now, these are two features that we introduced at last month's webinar, but we did it really quickly. And the feedback we had was that people wanted us to do a deep dive into these two features. So I'm going to be running through the Wallboard. And then Dan and Kim are going to show the map scheduler in a lot more detail. So if you're involved in planning or forecasting or finance, this is the webinar for you. There's the Q&A chat, the Q&A window in your Zoom thing that's popped up. If you want to just click that and say hello, that would be great. And that's the way to ask us questions. Now, last month, we answered lots of questions during the webinar, but also Kim messaged probably 20 people after the webinar with answers to questions, and we'll be doing the same this time. So if we don't get to your question during the Zoom, then don't worry, we will come back to you afterwards. Thanks, everyone, for saying hello in the Q&A. Much appreciated. Nice to know that people are actually there and they can hear us okay. So that's all of that out of the way. I think we'll go straight into the Wallboard then, Dan, I think. So I'll do that first. And then I'll hand over to you in about 10 minutes for the map scheduler. Can you see my screen okay, by the way, Dan?
Yep, all good, all good. Yep, I can see that.
Great. So this is Alpha Tracker. You'll all know what Alpha Tracker looks like. And the Wallboard is a feature that you either access, I've got it saved here as a favorite, either directly or more usually from the calendar view. So if I go to staff calendar, and I'm going to pick up some people here to show you the calendar for. In fact, I'll pick everybody up. The calendar, as you know, is where the appointments are made, but the Wallboard is the planning tool. So if I'll just very briefly just show a day's appointments here in the calendar, so you can see what the calendar looks like. This is where the detail of the appointments goes in, but the Wallboard is the planning and forecasting tool. Now, the best people at doing this, when we go and see clients, the best people in the resourcing teams have this view, the staff calendar view on one screen, and they have the Wallboard on a second screen. And you'll see why now. If I bring the Wallboard up, and there's two options, by the way, for Wallboard. There's the non-financial one. This shows information in hours. And then there's the financial one, which shows information in pound notes. So if I go to the hours one first, and I'll show you what it is, then you'll see why it works so well. If this is on one screen and the diary, the staff diary is on the other screen. So what is it we're looking at here? Well, we're looking at the month that we're in, which is March 2023. I'm looking at the staff down the left-hand side, and these numbers are showing me the number of hours that are planned in for each member of staff in the month of March. Now, I don't have to look at March. I can look at April, or I could look at May, or I can go as far ahead as I want to. I can even go backwards, by the way. So I could even go back to February if I wanted to and look at last month, or indeed the month before. So this is showing me hours planned for each member of staff. So what are the what are the sort of blocks showing me on the screen? Well, running across the top, these are the days of the month. So this is the first, which must have been a Wednesday, second Thursday, 3rd of March was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, etc. So you can see all of the time going across. You can actually see where the weekends are because there's no time booked in. And then what we have against each person. So if I look at the first, which was a Wednesday, the big number, the number 1, that tells me there's one appointment that day for Adam, in this case, of that type. Now, the grey in our Wallboard are non-productive time, unproductive time, things like sickness, holiday, time off, meetings, that sort of stuff. Okay, so there's one appointment of that type in his diary. If I go to the Thursday, the 2nd, there are 3 appointments in his diary, as you can see, and they're the mauve coloured ones. And I think mauve in our diary from memory is software development appointments. So Adam's got 3 software development appointments. Now, these are real people in our team here at Start. In your case, if you're into asbestos and water hygiene and fire risk and health and safety, you'll be looking at, for example, you might see 6 here for 6 domestic surveys in the day, or you might see 3 and 3, 2 different colours, 2 different blocks. They might have 3 domestic surveys and 3 water hygiene jobs, some temperature monitoring. So you can see at a glance how many appointments people have and what type of work they are. If I look at the bottom of the screen, you can see we have this bar chart, this blue bar chart running across, and that's totaling up the planned hours in this case per day. So I've got lots of people in this, in our team. We've got about 15 people that work for us. So here I've got 15 people, and it's given me a nice simple bar chart at the bottom for the time shown for each, for the hours per day. So this at a glance, you can see if you've got days where you're a bit under-resourced, or indeed this day here, this looks like we're over-resourced. We've got people perhaps working some overtime or working overnight on that day. You can also look at the Wallboard in a week-by-week view. So you don't even have to do it month by month. Now, we use this week by week to sort of, you know, if we've got lots of people or lots of things we want to look at, or there's lots of blocks, this helps because you can see more within each block. And you can also look 3 months ahead. This is a new feature. So there we've got March, April, May, or 6 months ahead. This is great when you're planning out your big programs of work for asbestos re-inspections, water hygiene, temperature monitoring, or shower cleans, or clarifier monitoring, health and safety inspections, fire risk, where you're going back time and time again. So these 3 month views and 6 month views are brilliant for that. Another choice that you have at this point is how you're looking at the information. Now, I'm looking at it by staff member here in hours. I'll come to the financial view in a second, but I can also switch to look by clients. I can look by projects, or indeed I can even look by project type. So I can look at the type of work that we're doing and how many hours are associated with each type of work. Now, this really comes into play when we start looking at the financial view of the Wallboard. You can disable the financial view, by the way. If you don't want staff to see the numbers, you know, perfectly understandable, you can disable it, but we've got it enabled in our system. Now look what I'm looking at. So these are pound notes. These are pound figures of the income that's been generated by each member of staff in this case during the month of March, with a total in the bottom left. And again, at the bottom, we've got a bar chart running across with totals, with figures, showing which days, which weeks we're making money in March and where we're not making money. Now, in your particular cases, you might have a target figure per member of staff. And in fact, we do. And you can see here, that's what the little red block is showing me there on Adam. So we've got a target set for Adam, target set for Catherine, target set for Dan, target set for Elaine. And where there's a red block, this is showing me they're sort of underachieving, if you like, against their target. And you might have exactly the same. Dan, you're doing very well, I have to say, in March.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's quite a good month for me, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know why I'm showing you this. You're going to want a bonus or something at the end of the month. It's payday at the end of the month as well, isn't it? So this is really good. So if you've got site staff, you've got your asbestos team, you need to be earning so much per person. We're all in the same game, aren't we? We're all trying to turn a profit at the end of the month. This is really helpful. So you can see at a glance, Adam's generating that in March. I can go forward a month, just like I showed you before. I can go forward 2 months. And it's so good to be able to see this information in this form. I need to underline something as well for you. You get all of this information for free. You don't have to do anything different for this information to appear. Just by booking the information into Alpha Tracker, just the normal jobs, the normal appointments, all of this you get for free. One last feature I'll show you before I show you how the system actually is calculating the values of each appointment is the search at the top. So if you've got multiple offices in your business, you can pick. You can say, I'm only interested in certain offices. You can pick certain clients. You can pick certain projects or jobs, you might call them, and you can pick certain types of work. So at a glance, you could instantly see all of the value of the asbestos work that your northern office is doing month by month by month at a glance, nothing else to do. And it is so fast. Tom has been working on this feature for a couple of months now to really improve the performance, and it is lightning fast. It's brilliant. So that's what the Wallboard is. It's a planning tool. It's an overview. It helps you look week by week, month by month, quarter by quarter. You can look 6 months ahead, and it tells you either information in hours or information in pounds or dollars if you're working in Australia, New Zealand, and you say you get it all for nothing. That's the beauty of the Wallboard. It doesn't cost you. There's no effort involved. You haven't got to put any extra information in. It just works. Right. For my last couple of minutes before I hand over to Dan and Kim, I just need to show you how it's doing it, because it might not be obvious at all. How is it calculating it? So if I book a new job in, a new project in, I can try and explain. So projects come in two different types. Either they're fixed price jobs or they're not. It's as simple as that. A fixed price job. So let's suppose I was putting in a £450 fixed price job. What's going to happen there is when I put this job into the diary, no matter how many appointments I put in against any number of people over any period, it will think it's got £450 to allocate across all of those appointments, to spread that £450 across all of the appointments. It won't go over it because it's a fixed price job. So this is ideal if you're booking in a survey, the survey's been quoted out at £450, say, you put somebody in the diary, that appointment is essentially worth £450 to you, and that's how the Wallboard will calculate up the value. However, not all jobs are like that. You sometimes will be doing work which is on a day rate or an hourly rate. Well, let's suppose it's a day rate. So if I take this tick box off, that's where this box here comes into play, the estimated man days. And what the system's now saying is, okay, it's a £450 job, and you're telling me it's going to take a day. That means every day's worth of time you put in the Wallboard, each of those days, the system will calculate is worth £450 to you. Okay, let me just say that again. So it's not a fixed price job. So the system is assuming that you're telling it how to work out a day rate. Now, let's suppose it was a 2-day job and you were charging it out at £600, okay? So the system's going to know that each day is worth £300 to you. £600, 2-day job. So the day rate, effective day rate is 300. That means however many appointments you put in the diary, it will calculate the values of those appointments at an effective day rate of £300. So as long as you get this tick box right, as long as you put the correct value in, as long as you put this figure correct, if it's not a fixed price job, the Wallboard will be correct. If you ever have any doubts, by the way, if you're looking at the numbers and you think, well, this doesn't look right, it's easy to check because you can use the bar chart at the bottom. You can spot the days that look ridiculous. You know, you're earning hundreds of thousands of pounds and you're expecting to be earning £1,000. And you can then just drill down to the project and check you've set it up right. But essentially, as long as you put that information in correctly at the start, the Wallboard will work as you'd expect. Right, I can see we've got a couple of questions there. What I'll do, Dan, if I hand over to you and Kim now, And then
Yep, sure.
probably do questions at the end, I think, at the end of the 30 minutes, if that's all right, when we'll try
Yeah,
and
that sounds
answer
like
as
a
many
good
as we
plan to
can.
me. Yeah,
Cool.
sounds
So
good.
over to you then, if you want to finish, do your share and take over.
Fantastic. Yeah, we'll do. No worries at all. So hopefully everyone can still hear us all okay. Do shout up in the question answers if you can't. And I'll just go ahead and share my screen now. So hopefully you can all see that. And I've got Alpha Tracker up and running. Robin, can you see that okay?
I can. It looks great, Dan. Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Great stuff. So as Robin mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, Kim and I are going to be running through the map scheduling tool. Now, it's a really, really cool feature that we've had in Alpha Tracker for a little while now. And it's really good for booking in, for example, domestic surveys. So you've got lots and lots of properties you want to go out and survey, and you need to put all of those appointments in the diary. That's just one example of what it's useful for, but I'll run through the features. I'll show you how it works. And obviously, if you've got any questions, do just shout up. So I've got map scheduling as a favorite up here, which I do love that feature, by the way. If you've not used a favorite feature, I would recommend using it. It's really, really good.
Very useful.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. So what we've got here is the map scheduling tool. So I'm going to be booking in some work for Kim and myself today. So first thing you need to do is pick the staff that you're going to be booking the work for. Now you can pick just one person or you can pick multiple people. And like I said, I'll just pick Kim and myself here. You can also choose by office or teams. If you've got certain site teams that you want to book work for, you can filter by those as well, just using the options on the right here. So I'll go ahead and select that. And then what we've got is mine and Kim's diary shown here. And you can see Kim's actually got one appointment booked in today down in Poole. So that's going to be a bit of a stretch to get to that one in 2 minutes time, Kim, but
we'll just be late.
Let you off on that one. And essentially it gives you an overview of the people who you've selected and see what's in their diary for a particular day. And if we move forward to a couple of days, so let's say we want to book in some work for Thursday, we can see both Kim and myself, we've got nothing booked in. So that's all good. We're ready to start scheduling some work. So what you can do is pick the time range that you want to book appointments for. So you can see I've got it set to be 8 o'clock till 3 o'clock, but you can just adjust these on the slider. So if, for example, you only want to book morning work, you can do it that way. In this case, we'll go for the full day. And I think these settings, if I'm right, Kim, they're controlled on a repository, so you can change your start and end times of the day, I think.
I think there's a default setting.
Yeah, that's it. So if you've got staff working overnights, for example, if you up that setting, you can see into the evening as well. And then we've also got another slider here, which allows you to specify the duration of the appointments you want to be booking. So in the example I'll run through, these are going to be some domestic surveys. So we'll give 2 hours each for these, but as you can see, you can just slide up and down nice and easily to pick your duration. And that's the staff side of things set up. Now, what we're going to be doing is showing an example of how you may book in these jobs as well. So I've got no jobs booked in at the moment, but what I have had is, for example, an Excel sheet from a housing association saying you need to do some domestic surveys. Here are all of the properties, and you can go out and survey those. So we've got this really cool site importer feature up here. So I'll talk you through that. So what we do is, first of all, we pick the client that we're importing for. So we'll put this under our start client. And then the way it works is you can choose a master project number. So master projects, for those of you that don't know, are essentially a way of grouping projects together. So they're like the overview project, and then you can have jobs underneath them. So we'll set up a new master project and we'll call this something like webinar domestic surveys or something like that. So if you've got a planned block of surveys, you'd typically set up a master project just to keep everything nice and tied together. Yeah. So we'll set up a W project for webinar. And again, I'll pop it in under our start client and I'll just blast through and add in this project here. So we'll set up a new site.
Nice short, snappy title you've got there.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So there we go. Our webinar domestic surveys 2023. So I'll save that away. And then what we'll do is we'll say these are asbestos surveys. So in terms of the master project, that's everything all set up, nice and simple. And you can do this before going into the map scheduling tool if you wish, or you can do it whilst you're in there. It's completely up to you how you do it. So now we've got our master project set up, we can pop this in and say, we're going to be doing work under this particular project. So those of you that have used our import screens before, this will probably look quite familiar. So we've got a download template option, import option, and then the process option. So in typical Blue Peter fashion, I've got a spreadsheet which I prepared earlier. So what I'm going to do is import that. So just to recap, this could be a spreadsheet that you've received from a housing association. They want you to do a number of domestic surveys in a particular area or town, for example. So I'll go ahead and import these. And it's really minimal information you need to put in. It's basically the site reference or UPRN, a client order number if you have one to hand, and then the project value as well. So in this case, I'm just going to work on 4 particular sites, but obviously you can put as many as you wish in. So now that looks all okay, I will process these sites. And what that'll actually do is add these sites as projects under the master project we've just set up. So hopefully you're all with me so far, and it's quite straightforward to do, but obviously the more you're in there, it's you get an idea of how to do that. So now we've set the master project up, this is where we'll put it in on our search option over here. And this is where the map scheduler starts to come to life. So you can see we've got the 4 jobs or the 4 sites that we just set up and created jobs for or projects for. And you can see these are actually popped on the map now as well. So you can see that was one of the sites. This is another one, and they're all visible and showing on the map. And it's important to note that the red pins are ones that aren't scheduled. The green ones are the ones that are scheduled. So you can easily see if you're doing a big chunk of work, you can see which ones are scheduled and which ones aren't. So you can find the appropriate slots in the diary and things like that.
Corresponds to the projects that we can see on the list.
It
on the
does,
right as well.
exactly. Yeah, great point, Kim. So these ones, they're showing in red over here. As Kim said, they correspond to the red map pins that we've got showing over here. And you could probably guess how you actually add the appointment with the big plus button over here. So all you need to do is basically pick the person you want to book it in for. So I'll try and book in some appointments for myself here. And if I go ahead and press the plus button, you'll see we're actually getting a warning saying I don't have the relevant qualifications for this. Now this ties really nicely into the training matrix. So for those of you that don't know, there's a training matrix built into Alpha Tracker. So you can say that certain staff members have got certain qualifications to do particular things. So
yeah, and in this case, it means that you, Dan Darkin, don't have the qualifications to do jobs of that type.
Exactly.
So it's an asbestos survey.
Exactly that. Yeah, thanks for that, Kim. So I just wanted to show that within here, we're also checking qualifications to make sure you can't accidentally book an appointment for the wrong person or someone who isn't qualified to do it. So now I'll move over to Kim, who is qualified to do this type of work. And then we'll go ahead and add these appointments in. So simply click the button and that's dropped in a block in Kim's diary from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock. Because remember, we're using our time range and our duration over here. You can see it's gone green to say it's been scheduled.
Can I just point out the exclamation mark on there?
Yeah, great. So we've got additional notes for this particular site here. So if anything needs to be flagged up, these will show as the little notification icon, and you can see that this particular tenant is disabled. So it's just a reminder to the site staff to say, allow more time for them to get to the door. For example, you could put things in, for example, about key codes to get into buildings and things like that. But you've got all that information available on here as well, which is really handy. So we'll go back and add in the other jobs. And again, it is literally as simple as pressing the plus button. They'll get added, and then you can see they're getting scheduled. We've got a nice scheduled indicator here, so we can see how many properties we have scheduled for that particular master job.
And as they go green, they drop to the bottom of the list, don't they? So we just have these
Exactly.
unscheduled ones at the top.
Exactly that. That's it. And you can see now our map's starting to change, and we've got green pins showing for the scheduled appointments. So we'll go in and drop in the other two appointments, and there we go. We're all scheduled for that job. They're now in Kim's diary, as you'd expect. And this relates nicely to what Robin was saying. These will now be available in the Wallboard. Straight away, they'll be visible there because we've dropped them into the Alpha Tracker calendar.
Dan, quick question from me. So you could have imported hundreds of jobs there, hundreds of sites, couldn't you? And you could be scheduling over days and weeks and months. So we've only just, in your demo there, you just had 4 sites to import, but you could have imported 400. And then you could just be filling day by day by day. Yeah, fine. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it, Robin. Yeah. So typically it would be a lot bigger number than the 4 we've got here. Yeah, like Robin said, you could have hundreds of sites that you want to be booking through over a number of weeks. So yeah, that's all capable in this tool, which is really nice. And then finally, once we've got everything booked in, we've got a really cool feature to allow you to essentially route and map between the different appointments. So down here on the bottom left, we've got a couple of mapping options. So if I go to route this, you'll see it draws on a route from the first appointment we've got to the second, third, and fourth. Now, this is actually the quickest route to do it, but if they were in a different order, we've got an optimize button, and what that'll do is say, actually, do this appointment first and then this one second, because it'll be quicker in terms of drive and getting there. So it's really helpful to plan out where appointments are at if you've got lots in around the surrounding areas. And we really like that feature, and it just helps you see, oh, okay, they're going from site A to site B. This is the quickest way, or should they go to this particular one first? And then you can juggle around the diary.
Yes, quite helpful for scheduling staff if they're not too knowledgeable about locations.
Definitely is.
You've got local knowledge there, Dan, haven't you? Because you've picked all places around where you live. So
I do have very local knowledge around here. Yes, but, yeah. If you were going somewhere that you didn't know particularly well, this would be a really handy tool to help you work out the best routes for your site staff. And then we can just clear that down, and then we're back onto the staff view. And that's our super quick run through tour of the map scheduling tool. So hopefully that's given you an insight to what it's capable of. I mean, we really like it here, and I mean it's such a useful thing to help you get stuff in the diary, particularly when you're booking in lots of smaller appointments for numerous site staff.
A couple of questions, Dan, that have been asked on the chat. Somebody's saying the appointments that go in here, do you see them normally in the normal diary, or do you only see them in the map scheduling?
No, you'll see those in the normal diary. So
you can amend them from here as well.
You can that's a good point. So you can double click on these, and you can actually see the appointment details and amend them if need be. But you can actually view these in the calendar as well. So if I open up the staff calendar over here, and I'll just pick Kim, you'll see that those appointments we've just booked in are now in the calendar.
Okay, so they're just normal. They're normal appointments. You're just booking them in a different way.
Exactly that. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, another question we have. Thank you, Janice, for this one. Is can you book in projects if you haven't linked them to a master project?
Yeah, of course. Question. Yeah, you definitely can. We're just using master project as an example, but over here on the search side of things, you can search by client. So you can bring back all unscheduled projects for a particular client. And then you can pick projects as well from this project list here, and you can pick multiple ones, and they'll then just show in the list below. So yeah, you can do that without having a master project selected as well.
It's just quite nice to group them together as under a master project, so that you've got a few of them all together, and it makes it nice and quick to schedule them because you've got them all listed out for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you can you say, especially from the importer tool. Kim, there's a question. This is going to test you, Kim. There's a hard one coming up from Victoria. I showed the target figures per person on the Wallboard. Do you know how to change the target figure?
I know there's a setting. You can change a setting for the target figure.
I think we'll have to email you the answer on that one. I can't remember.
Yeah, more detail than that, I'm not sure of.
Yeah. We'll email you that one. Thanks for the question. I know we can do it quite easily, but I can't remember exactly which screen. And I think, there were two other questions, but we answered them. We answered them by text as we were chatting along. So I think that was really good. I think we've hit the 30 minutes. So for the people that managed to work out the time difference and the right time to watch it, nice. Thank you for joining us. If you're just joining now, and I can see quite a few people are actually just joining now. This is actually the end of the webinar because the Zoom got it wrong with the clocks going forward at the weekend. This has been recorded. It will be on YouTube in a day or two, and when it's on YouTube, you can watch it back. We put some extra little bits and pieces in the YouTube recordings as well, so you do get a bit of bonus material if you watch it on YouTube. Share it with your colleagues, and do join us for the webinar next month at the end of April. So it's the last Tuesday of April, 12:30. Whether it's GMT or
yes,
BST, 12:30. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Kim. Thanks very much for joining us, everybody. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.